When the world raced toward all-electric cars, few expected Honda to shake the industry with an engine that feels like the future without being fully electric. Yet in 2025, Honda unveiled a hybrid system so advanced that experts say it could stall the EV revolution. No charging hassles, no battery anxiety, and performance strong enough to rival both petrol cars and EVs. Honda's hyper-hybrid claims to deliver it all. But is this the innovation that will keep millions from switching to electric? Today, we uncover Honda's new hybrid engine, its secret technology, and why Tesla and BYD should be paying attention. From Soichiro's dream to a global giant. Every revolution starts with a dreamer, and for Honda, that dreamer was Soichiro Honda. Born in 1906 to a poor blacksmith's family in Japan, Soichiro wasn't destined for comfort or privilege. He was destined for grease-stained hands, broken machines, and relentless trial and error. From an early age, he showed a fascination for the smell of oil and the sound of engines, sneaking into garages and skipping classes just to watch mechanics at work. He wasn't the type to sit still in a classroom. He wanted to build. His first attempts at engineering were anything but glorious. He started out making piston rings, only to face failure after failure. Factories rejected his designs, investors turned him away, and at one point, his small workshop was even destroyed by bombs during World War II. Any ordinary man might have quit, but Soichiro Honda wasn't ordinary. With scrap materials and an iron will, he rebuilt, often working through the night. When the war left Japan in ruins, he saw opportunity where others saw despair. He began attaching surplus motors to bicycles, creating cheap and efficient transport for a struggling population. That small idea was the spark that gave birth to Honda Motor Company. From there, the company's rise was meteoric. In 1958, Honda unveiled the Super Cub, a small, sturdy, and affordable motorcycle. It wasn't glamorous, but it was exactly what people needed. The Super Cub became a worldwide phenomenon, selling over 100 million units and becoming one of the most successful motor vehicles in history. Suddenly, Honda wasn't just a Japanese manufacturer, it was a global brand. The world began to associate the name Honda with reliability, affordability, and innovation that served the masses. The 1960s were the period through which Honda entered the automobile market. When its competitors made cars that were designed for the elite, Honda was envisioning vehicles that were practical, fuel-efficient, and affordable for the average family. In 1972, the Honda Civic was born, which rapidly became the people's car. Economical to run, easy to maintain, and a model of precision, it brought something new to the middle classes around the world. By the late 1970s, not only were the Civic and later the Accord Japanese exports, but they also came to be known and loved with great frequency in America, Europe, and elsewhere. What separated Honda was not simply its engineering brilliance, it was the company's philosophy. Soichiro believed machines should serve man, not intimidate him. Honda cars were not built to merely dazzle showroom visitors, they were made to endure, to sip rather than gulp fuel, and to give the average person confidence. It was technology not for the few, but for the many. That spirit was why names like Honda City and Activa came to symbolize trust, not only in Japan but also across such distant markets as India. Honda showed itself as versatile in its decades-old history, innovating hybrid technology long before it became fashionable, exploring hydrogen fuel cell vehicles, and even creating humanoid robots like Asimo. While many of their competitors jostled with a rapid pace, joining the electric vehicle bandwagon, Honda maintained silence, simply watching, learning, and preparing. Critics say they are slow, but Honda had a different perspective. Why rush into the race if the track isn't ready? And here it is, the moment of patience and measure. From the dust of the war to the glory of the Civic, Honda has built a reputation for practicality and resilience as well as trust. It is not surprising, therefore, that when such a company launches a new technology, the world pays attention. And this time, what Honda has unveiled isn't just another engine, it's a hyper-hybrid system so advanced, it might force the entire EV industry to rethink everything it thought it had already won. The hyper-hybrid revealed. When Honda finally stepped onto the stage with its latest creation, it wasn't just another hybrid. The company called it a hyper-hybrid, and the auto world quickly realized this was not marketing fluff. This was Honda's boldest move in years, a rethinking of what a hybrid engine could be in an age obsessed with EVs. At the heart of this new system is a 2.0-litre Atkinson cycle petrol engine, working hand in hand with two electric motors. But here's where the magic happens. Instead of one motor struggling to balance performance and charging duties, Honda split the tasks. One motor drives the car, delivering instant torque and smooth acceleration, while the other is dedicated solely to keeping the battery charged. That separation means the system doesn't overload itself, and the car feels seamless whether crawling in city traffic or overtaking at highway speeds. Traditional hybrids often force the driver into compromises: switch to petrol for power, switch to electric for efficiency. Honda's Hyper Hybrid erases those choices. The petrol engine and electric motors operate like a perfectly conducted orchestra, stepping in and out at exactly the right times. Most of the time, you're gliding silently on the electric motor. But when you need raw muscle climbing a hill, merging onto a freeway, or pushing past 100 km/h, the petrol engine joins in. Together, they produce a solid 184 horsepower, enough to handle highways without breaking a sweat while still delivering city smoothness. From where it began to drop jaws, fuel efficiency goes between 20 and 28 km/L in real-life scenarios, and not in the lab. Diesel-like mileage in a petrol hybrid, without the hassle attached to charging and getting to a charging station, is possible. While the EV owners compute the cost of charging and worry about range anxiety, Honda continues the run. The battery charges itself as you drive on both the secondary motor and Honda's advanced regenerative braking system, which collects more energy from stopping than older hybrids have ever been able to do so. And now it's driving comfort. One real big thing you understand when you enter this Hyper Hybrid is the absolute silence. Honda has developed a highly refined noise management mechanism. So, when you start the petrol engine, it does not roar. Instead, it hums with a soft, almost musical tone. In city traffic, it feels like an EV, quiet, clean, and calm. On highways, it sounds like a strong petrol car. The switch of modes is invisible to the driver. You don't press buttons or fiddle with settings. The car itself decides when to use electricity, petrol, or both. But Honda has not stopped at the engine. Vehicles built around this system, like the newest Accord Hybrid, have been designed with lightweight aerodynamics. This shape makes the cars sleeker and cuts down drag, which means that every drop of fuel goes further. Paired with the Hyper Hybrid system, this makes a fun-to-drive vehicle with all new models of Honda, not just efficient but fun to drive, something that has easily sacrificed the sense of having batteries when it comes to driving ranges. Perhaps the most shocking part, however, is the audience for which Honda targets this technology. This is not niche technology for the rich elite. The Hyper Hybrid is built for the masses, be liked by those people who would have wanted EV-level efficiency but would not be able to afford a Tesla, are skeptical of BYD, or have no infrastructure for charging in their homes. Wherever the country still makes charging networks a dream, that would be where Honda's system becomes the practical choice. EV weaknesses exposed. Yet, the brilliance of Honda's Hyper Hybrid isn't just what it offers, it's what it eliminates. Because when you compare it to pure EVs, it solves the three weaknesses that have haunted electric cars from the very beginning. For years, the electric vehicle industry has promised a clean, futuristic alternative to the gas-powered car. Companies like Tesla and BYD marketed EVs as not just machines, but as symbols of progress: silent, sleek, and eco-friendly. Yet beneath the hype, everyday drivers continued to face the same frustrating issues: charging times that drag on, batteries that degrade too quickly, and performance that collapses in the cold. These three weaknesses have always been the Achilles heel of EVs. And now, Honda claims it has solved every single one with its Hyper Hybrid. Let's start with the charging dilemma. Imagine being late for work or needing to make a long trip, only to find your EV battery nearly drained. Even with today's fastest chargers, you're looking at 30 minutes to an hour of downtime. With a slower charger, it can take an entire night. This isn't just inconvenient, it's impractical for millions of people who live in apartments, crowded cities, or rural areas where home charging stations aren't possible. Honda's Hyper Hybrid turns this problem into a non-issue. The battery charges automatically while you drive, powered by the second motor and enhanced regenerative braking. The car simply charges itself in motion, meaning no range anxiety, no wasted time, and no reliance on fragile charging infrastructure. Then comes the problem concerning deficits in battery life. By now, any EV owner would know that lithium-ion batteries will degrade over time. With every charging and discharging cycle, capacity will shrink. After 3 to 4 years, many EVs can no longer give you the range that the car was promising when it was new. Indeed, getting a battery change is a nightmare, costing you thousands of dollars, sometimes even half the price of the car itself. Honda's Hyper Hybrid takes a different approach. Stress is not laid upon the batteries since the petrol engine shares some of the workload. In effect, one motor is responsible for driving while the other charges, thus ensuring even wear. Let's add yet another curse for cold weather conditions. Those who have driven electric vehicles in the winter know the agony batteries hate cold temperatures. Range certainly can decline anywhere from 30 to 40%, which turns a 300-kilometer EV into a liability that only provides a range of 180 kilometers. Suddenly, road trips have become dangerous games of chance. Drivers sitting there will find themselves stranded with a dead battery in a freezing environment. Honda's Hyper Hybrid system laughs into the face of snow and ice. When cold weather takes a toll on battery performance, the petrol engine smoothly cuts in. Those three weaknesses in charging, battery degradation, and cold weather range are substantial obstacles to EV adoption. Thus, millions of consumers are rather reluctant to buy an electric car, despite the pressures put forth by the government. That was something Honda noticed, and it was something Honda changed. It created a self-sustainable hybrid system with which it effectively positioned itself as the first real challenger to EV dominance. And here is where Honda's Hyper Hybrid may hit Tesla, BYD, and the entire EV industry the hardest by delivering a cheaper, smarter, and easier to maintain alternative that could win the masses.